All right, so here we are. 40 weeks. I am 40 weeks and I think 4 days. 40 weeks and 4. At this point, I've sort of lost track, but you know, I had all these plans to document so much of the pregnancy and the journey, and that just didn't happen. I in the beginning, I was really inspired by that idea, and then I got hit really hard with morning sickness. So I guess with this video, I want to share like a recap of my experience of being pregnant, and I can show you my belly. You can see it. I'm bending down a little bit. We are full blooming over here. But yeah, man, so much has happened. So much has happened over the course of these 9 months. Where do I even start? Pregnancy has been probably one of the most profound, beautiful, intense in moments, but expansive experiences that I've ever been through. First 3 months, I got hit with morning sickness around 7 or 8 weeks. And then I had that for about 2 months, which was really challenging to navigate because I was nauseous all day long. I wasn't throwing up, but I was very, very nauseous all day long. Waves of nausea, really fatigued, really tired, lots of naps. There's so much happening in the first trimester as far as what your body is getting used to and all the new hormones, and you're literally creating a life form from scratch, and it's a lot of changes all at once. And so I was very internal during that space. I could not really do much, could not go out, I could not eat much. My appetite changed drastically during that period. I could only eat like bagels and bread, crackers. I couldn't even stand the thought of eating meat. That was just like a total no-go. And that seemed to go on forever. But of course, it shifted, especially once I got into the second trimester, which was awesome. Once the nausea had passed, it was like you just feel so juicy and enlivened, and I had energy and vitality, and you're not super huge yet, and your bump's starting to show, and you're just in more of this kind of like juicy creative space. And in the meantime, or like amongst that, let me make sure this is still recording. So amongst all of these new changes, my biggest prayer at that time was us landing and manifesting a new home. I just really, really, really knew and desired a new home to be able to birth this baby in. And that was one huge manifestation that came through in the most magical way. I was applying a lot to different houses, getting a lot of denials. But it was such a longing and a yearning, because by that point, I think I was almost 6 months pregnant. This was in January. And we had just outgrown our other space. It was so obvious that we had to get out of there. Our frequency, our energy, the kids, everything was just way, way, way ready. And Dove just kept saying, like, the right place is gonna come to us. We deserve it. We know that it's coming. But I definitely was feeling desperate, desperate to be in a new space, you know, especially being that pregnant by that time and really just wanting to be where we're meant to be so we can land and rest and nest and all the things. And I'll never forget, I was trying really hard for this one house, and everything was in line. The bank statements, the credit checks, everything just seemed perfect. This place was more downtown, in the downtown scene, but I was okay with it. I was like, this house would be great for us. And I had even wrote this heartfelt letter to the landlord of how much we really wanted this house. And I was like, it's definitely ours, you know. There had been a few places like that where we were like, this is the one, we feel it, like, yes. And then we got denied. And with that one, it was like my heart just kind of shattered, and my faith definitely was teetering, and I was so upset. I cried like all day that day, just so disappointed. And Dove, of course, just kept the faith like he does. He's very optimistic and very strong in his faith and in his knowing. And he was like, no, it's just, babe, it's just not the right one, you know that. And but I definitely felt that one very deeply, and I was just like, at that point I was like, fuck it, you know, I surrender. Maybe we don't even move at all. And I had to come to this acceptance of whatever is meant to be, and also be reminded that this baby knows where she wants to come in. She knows where she wants to be birthed. And maybe it's in that house. So who am I to try to push that timeline and put pressure on it? Because that's what I was doing. I was putting a lot of pressure on that manifesting. And so I was like, all right, whatever. Maybe I have her in this house, and that's just what it is. So that surrender happened. And then I kid you not, like a day later after that, we somehow, a friend of ours had reached out, and she knew we were house hunting, and she reached out and was like, oh, I have a place. And said it was outside of town, whatever. I was still kind of processing in my emotions and not really that excited, because I felt like I'd put so much energy into all the other places. So I was like, whatever, like, sounds cool, but probably isn't the one, you know. They even sent this one little photo that was like the plumbing of the underneath the countertop in the bathroom, and like a mirror that it wasn't revealing of the actual home. And I saw it and I was like, yeah, right, that just looks like some makeshift type of thing. Like, that's probably not even the one, you know. I was super pessimistic at that point. But Dove, of course, really felt it, and he had an intuition about it, and he didn't let my negativity affect his knowing. And so ended up, I was busy, and he goes and looks at the place, and then he comes home that night, and he's like almost in tears, just like, this is our home. This is our home. I feel it. I know it. There's this, that, and the other on the land. You're gonna love it. You gotta come see it as soon as possible. So I was like, okay, I trust you. I could feel it. And then when we came to see the home, it was just like, I was crying, walking on the land, feeling the home, which is so well built. It's epic. It's beautiful. It's on 5 acres. There's places to garden. There were greenhouses already here. There's irrigation. There's beehive boxes. And that's one thing I really want to do soon, is to tend to the hive. So it was like, it was just perfect. It was just perfect. And it came through in this magical synchronistic way that wouldn't have come in any other way. You know, it's like I was trying to do everything so professional and like the way, right? And forgetting in that process of just the magic of alignment and the universe, and trusting that our soul desires are going to manifest in a perfect divine moment. And so deepening into the faith and deepening into the trust. And then within like 2 weeks, we were moving. And then we just landed in the home in this whole new reality. And since then, it has just been complete miracle manifestations and harmony and healing. It's like there's so much that I could say about that, about what the frequency of this baby girl. I don't even know if I said it was a girl in the last video, but I knew it was a girl all along, and that was confirmed. That came in a synchronistic way. And her name is Ishal. Ishal, named after the Mayan rainbow goddess, Lady of the Rainbow, of hummingbirds, jaguars, snakes, healing, weaving, childbirth, midwifery. That's a whole other story of how the name came through and how it was affirmed, but she has made things very clear with where she wants to be birthed, with when she wants to be birthed, with whom, her name, everything, 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 and everything about this process has helped me to deepen into trust, because of the way that it's all unfolded in such an organic, beautiful, fluid, divine way. So on top of all that, on a physical level, I feel like my body really carried pregnancy well. I didn't gain that much weight in the beginning because it was hard for me to eat. I felt like my stomach shrunk, and it took some time to settle into my new appetite and what I actually was hungry for. But overall, I felt really good in my body, honestly, better than I ever have felt. And there were a few things that I was doing that I felt really supported this. And the first thing that I would recommend to any pregnant woman, and maybe any just person, but especially pregnant women, is weekly chiropractic care. I had never done this before. I'd never gotten weekly chiro. And this was a game changer. I mean, I'm so grateful, because what it does is it works directly with your nervous system while keeping everything in alignment to support the baby to be in an optimal position for labor and for birth. And also keeping your body balanced and aligned. And it was so, so helpful, because before pregnancy, I was sure that me being pregnant was going to be really hard, because of my chronic pain I'd had in the past. I'd had 8 years ongoing chronic low back pain in my sacrum, like excruciating pain. That's a whole other story I could go into maybe another time. But excruciating pain in my lower spine that created a lot of emotional and mental, psychological challenges in my life. It was one of my biggest healing points of expansion and growth and initiations. But anywho, I didn't have that with this pregnancy. I had one weekend where a big pattern fell out of my low back. It's the only time I felt low back pain. And I just felt like this is the most vital I've ever felt. I felt like things were healing because I was pregnant, which they say that because of all of these new hormones and all of the stem cells and everything that is being produced by the body, it has that potential to like reset your system and heal things and bring them into better alignment. Like my digestion's on point. It causes you to really up your self-care and give yourself the best foods. And I've learned so much about food and protein. That was a piece for me, was upping my protein. I'd probably had low protein count for like years because I was vegan and then vegetarian and and I would sometimes bring in meat, but I upped my protein intake, which has felt amazing, and eating more eggs and meats and cottage cheese and collagen and raw milk, which I only just started the raw milk. It took me a minute to like feel open to that, but it actually feels amazing. It's really great for postpartum healing. So yeah, everything has just felt really blessed, honestly. And I see how women need more support during this process. I see how preparation for conception and for pregnancy on all levels of the feminine is highly important. Your sense of embodiment, your relationship to food, your relationship to your emotions, to feeling, because pregnancy really, I feel like, invites this depth and ability to feel and expand more, because your body literally is expanding and opening and softening and relaxing your entire pregnancy. Literally, there's a hormone called relaxin that is relaxing everything and causing everything to be just more malleable to prepare for birth. So it's this very intelligent design happening on a biological level, on a spiritual level. Your awareness of things, the healing that comes up, the purging that comes up. I mean, it is quite a ritual, a shamanic initiation, a rite of passage. So, and I've just received so much love and care and support, and I recognize that not a lot of women have that opportunity or have the community or the resources to experience what I've been experiencing, and more women deserve this, I would say. And so I feel like during the pregnancy process, you're like rewriting a lot of stories and narratives and confronting your subconscious to get to this point, confronting fears, which I have definitely had fears around birth. Even though I would call myself a birth worker who is immersed myself in these realms of study, I still had my own things to move through. And that's also part of it. And for me in particular, there was also a lot of mother line healing, mother wounding that I was processing and moving through. And it makes so much sense, right? Because we're bringing through our womb. So we're going to be visiting different layers and pieces within the womb space. And I'm having a daughter. So that dynamic is shifting things between me and my mother. And her energy is bringing so much healing in all these different ways. And that's what these children do. They come in with their design and their blueprint. And just their frequency alone is allowing things to shift and heal. And that's also been extremely beautiful. And my partnership is extremely, we've just accessed a whole other level of harmony and love and understanding. And it's just fucking amazing. It's just amazing what this type of bond can do for a union and a relationship, and what this third energy is doing and creating. And I think there's so much happening beyond even what we can comprehend on a quantum level, on a spiritual level. But I've been able to feel and see and witness how things have shifted internally, externally, within the family unit, within the relationships surrounding me. And now, here we are, like about to cross the threshold. And I have been all around and up and down emotionally the last few weeks, starting from entering into May, getting everything ready in the home space, so I can feel ready externally. And then internally, there's been a lot of shifts. I left social media in the beginnings of May, just so I could have more time and presence with the process and outside of the Instagram grid of things, social media grid of things, which was really good for me and a little intense to detox like that. But I've been going to the lake right up the road, painting and swimming, and then in some moments just letting myself watch a show or a series of a show, just to take my mind off of it, because it's such a new experience. I don't know what to expect. How am I going to feel? All the mental energy, like da 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 da. It is quite a fucking trip to go through everything that a woman goes through. And it's like you sort of feel alone in it, because you are, in a sense. However, so many women have been through this. So many mothers have been through the same process. But these last days have just been like, oh my God, like, is it time? Is it time? And having different signs and symptoms. Like, I was having the early contractions like weeks ago. And then one night I was up all night with some contractions. They feel more like menstrual cramps, and then nothing. And then more recently, I began losing my mucus plug, which is the plug that basically protects the baby from anything entering up and in through the cervix. So that starts when the cervix starts to open, that starts to come out. And so I've been losing that. So that was one of the first big, like, major signs that I was in early labor, which can last a long time, especially if you've never had a baby before. It can, I'm learning, it can take time for the process, which I had thought the baby was coming early. Everyone has their ideas of like when the baby's coming and what they think and da da da. And but I was so sure. I was like, she's definitely coming early. She's coming for her due date. She's coming on her due date. She's coming on the full moon. And then like every time these dates would pass, and me and Dove would be like, okay, guess not. Guess we have more time. But now it is feeling closer than ever. Like within the next week. I mean, literally. So yeah, I'm excited. And to be able to say in this moment, I'm excited and I'm at peace and I'm ready, is like, hallelujah. Because I've felt a lot of different ways about the birth portal and moved through a lot of energies and had a lot of space held for me and had a lot of support. But yeah, it's all just part of the journey of it. And at this point, I just feel so grateful in every way and so trusting in every way. And my mom's going to be coming out within next week, pretty much. So next week, we're going to have our little baby girl here with us. And I just feel myself, just dropping into that space of welcoming and surrender and love, because it's the oxytocin that really allows this process to take place. It's that feel good, loving, calm, relaxed energy that speeds and allows labor to take place. So those are the hormones that we want to be priming and being in, and making love and movement and dancing. And I don't always feel like doing any of that. Sometimes I'm just like, don't touch me. I need to just lay around like a whale or a cat and just be with myself. But those are things that encourage the strong labor sensations. And I did a lot during my pregnancy. People were just like, how are you doing this? How are you doing all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. But, I went to, I had an epic blessing way that was so beautiful. Shout out everyone that came together to make that happen. It was gorgeous. We did a despacho, which is a Peruvian Andean prayer on the land blessing. And then shortly after that, I went to Sedona. And what was cool about that is that in the beginning of my pregnancy, I saw myself through a vision in Sedona, very pregnant. And I was like, oh, I'm going to Sedona. We got to go to Sedona. The baby wants me to go to Sedona. Hit up my best friend. I'm like, hey, you want to go on a road trip to Sedona? And she's like, hell yeah. I'm like, cool, let's do that at some point. We haven't been in forever. It would be amazing. So that was in the field. And then after like a series of synchronistic other divine things, a beautiful sister of mine announces she's going to hold a retreat. And she announced that after she had received dreams and messages from other women seeing her holding a retreat in Sedona for the Oracles of Sophia. Shout out Zafira. Check her out. gardenofazura.com. They're doing amazing things. Or maybe it's azura.love. I don't know, but I'll link that for you guys. So, anywhoosies, it's all this whole divine thing. The retreat happens, which is a beautiful gathering of all of these women in Sedona, which I have such a strong soul connection to. It's where I started my spiritual journey at 22. And then here I was returning at 33 to close that chapter and start a whole new one for my life. And it was just all so divine, aligned. We did the road trip. We did the retreat. The land blessed the fuck out of me, the ancestors. I gathered so many pieces of myself